to tell us about Cyprus.
Hi everybody, so I'm Christina. I'm here representing BirdLife Cyprus. I just recently started working there in September as the Research and Monitoring Coordinator. So I'm very happy to be here to tell you about our rollers. So do we have rollers in Cyprus? Yes, we do. They're migrant breeders. So they're present during breeding season migration, but not winter. And we estimate there's about, let's say, 2,000 breeding pairs in Cyprus. In terms of their trends, they're going down. We're estimating a moderate decline, and these are data from our common bird monitoring scheme. So I'll tell you a bit more about that later. But we've got good numbers, but they seem to be going down. In terms of the threats, I'm just going to echo a bit what other people have already said. More critical threats relate to intensification of agriculture and the creation of monocultures and the loss of the mosaic. That's a pretty mosaic over there. And that's the sort of habitat that's getting lost, so you lose the landscape features, the trees, the field margin features, and so on. But you also have abandonment of agriculture, abandonment of low-intensity agriculture as well, and also a lot of habitat loss and degradation due to development and building and that kind of thing. In terms of high threats, we've got a pretty big illegal trapping, illegal killing of birds problems in Cyprus. I couldn't find a picture of a roller in a net, but there's a golden oriole instead. It's not great. I mean, this threat I don't think is, I think in general is a big problem for the bird diversity in Cyprus. Maybe not specifically for rollers, but the fact that they put up nets and things like this get caught could cause some declines. And also, we've also got some problems with spraying of insecticides in water for mosquito control. So I think that's potentially quite a high threat. In terms of medium threats, a lot of it's got to do with disturbance by recreational activities, so people taking quad bikes and stuff in areas where these birds might nest. Also, training of hunting dogs is very low regulation in Cyprus, so you have these lots of people in places where they could potentially shouldn't be, and causing quite a lot of disturbance. Quarry activities as well. And the roads that are associated with those activities. And also the Cyprus being kind of low rainfall with frequent drought, things like water abstraction and bad development around riverbeds and so on results in habitat degradation as well. So long-term threats is yet unsolved. Well, most of them, but mainly it's the change in agriculture practices and also the habitat loss from development. And then we've also got some relatively new threats in the development of renewable energy infrastructure, so solar farms and wind farms. So it's basically habitat loss to build these things, and also apparently Cyprus has got really into the golf game, so we've got these big golf resorts that are being developed, and again, it's basically habitat loss, habitat degradation, habitat fragmentation. In terms of legislation and management and so on, the rollers are included in the legislation that protects birds in Cyprus, not specifically the roller, but we've also had an updated important bird area inventory that came out a couple of years ago, and you can see them there. There's 34 areas, I think, in Cyprus, of which, I don't know if you saw the change in color, but those are the ones that are triggered by rollers. And then we've got the special protected areas as well. So you'll notice there aren't any SPAs in the north part of the island because of the political situation in Cyprus. That the north part of the island is under Turkish occupation. And so we don't have any government control in the north. But in the south, so in the area that's controlled by the Cyprus government, about 70% of the important bird areas are covered by special protected areas. The other thing that we have been working on is we've just completed, BirdLife Cyprus has just completed management plans for all of the important bird areas in Cyprus. And we've delivered that. That's a complete project. which is great. So we've got management plans that we've proposed, but now it's kind of up to the government to take those up and actually implement and also ensure that there's enough funding available for the management of these areas. And just to note, all these areas qualify for lots of other species as well. So it's kind of more at the habitat level rather than the species level. So in terms of our roller goals, we want to halt the population decline, which we're seeing. Actually, there's a question of identifying why they're declining, so we can do that. So that's part of that. And we do have some conservation activities in place. So we have our own monitoring program. The Game and Fauna Service, which is a government authority in Cyprus, is also monitoring as part of their wider game species monitoring. And they've also put up some nest boxes in one of the special protected areas that is triggered by rollers. And then also in the north part of Cyprus, the Turkish Cypriot Society for the Protection of Birds has put up some nest boxes in a couple of IBAs as well. The interesting thing with those nest boxes is that they're in areas where they're kind of atypical. They're very flat with not many trees. So I mean that's something interesting that we need to work together with them on. In terms of conservation activities, again, there's a government, this is more a government-led LIFE project, which includes rollers as part of lowland forest birds in a couple of SPAs in the southeast of the island. And the actions that are related to roller include nest boxes and also creation of no-input agricultural fields, providing water, removing invasive acacia trees, and basically restoring the sort of habitat that's good for roller, and also intensive patrols against illegal trapping and illegal hunting activities. So our monitoring scheme, we've been doing sort of the standard common bird monitoring that I think many of you will do in your own countries. We've been doing it for about 10 years now. And it's sort of the usual 1 kilometer walk. And we capture quite a lot of captures, and we record quite a lot of rollers during these, which allow us to produce a trend. But then we also have our dedicated roller survey, which is a driven line transect with point counts at stop points along the transect as well. So we do have some data, some good monitoring data, which we can build on. But then also we've got some new work. So this is a PhD that Phil, give everyone a wave, he's over there. He's very kindly given me some of his results to present to you from his PhD that he's been working on, looking at rollers in Cyprus and also in Portugal. So in this slide you can see in the picture on the left, you can see the minimum convex polygons of tagged rollers, or 6 of them that Phil managed to tag. And he looked at habitat selection, and he found that they were preferring fallow fields, so these are sort of arable fields that have been left, and also maybe woody fruit crop, so that's more like olives.
Viticulture.
Viticulture as well. Okay, cool. I do like viticulture, and those are kind of more. And the ones that they really avoid are things like urban areas, plowed fields, and scrub, which kind of makes sense. I think in considering the Cyprus mosaic. So that's really handy to know what sort of habitats these guys use. And then also he compared the sort of nest cavities that they use in Cyprus and in Portugal. And it turns out that the Cyprus rollers like their houses bigger, so they want wider entrance and a bigger hole. And then the other thing that is really interesting is that there's a potentially nest site limitation in Cyprus, so there aren't enough holes that actually meet the suitability of what the rollers need. So this is a really nice, clear indication that maybe we need to put up more nest boxes. But then we were talking with Phil earlier actually about he found some suggestion as well that the holes that they use in old houses might actually not be very helpful because the habitat surrounding those houses might not be very good in terms of foraging. So that's something that we need to look at in more detail in terms of identifying the appropriate actions for the species. But in general, what we really need is more horizontal measures so that we can actually address things like the agriculture problem, the development issues that we have, inappropriate development of the Cyprus countryside. And I'm pretty much there. I mean, this is just in terms of the previous action plan objectives and any new objectives for Cyprus. Cyprus wasn't included in the previous action plan, but in general, I'm just going to echo pretty much what lots of everyone said, and looking forward to talking to you about it more during the workshop session. That's me.